Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to EduTap and welcome to Perspective 360-degree session where we are going to do current affair based answer writing practice in a detailed and structured manner. So, as a part of today's session, as you would be knowing that these days we are covering this economic survey and we have already covered part 1, 2, 3, and 4 as a part of this series. And as a part of today's class, we are going to see the part 5, right, where we are going to basically focus upon this industrial sector as mentioned as a part of the economic survey strictly from descriptive point of view, right? So we are going to see that what is the main theme or the main issue that it discusses as a part of it as far as the relevancy to your examination is concerned. Now, as a part of this chapter, primarily we are going to focus upon the MSMEs because the different challenges and the solutions with respect to MSMEs are specifically highlighted as a part of this chapter. Although this chapter also talks about global value chains, it talks about schemes like PM Gati Shakti, then I would say National Corridor Development Plan also sort of things, but these things are not, I would say, primarily important as far as your examination is concerned because जो RBI में क्वेश्चन पूछने का तरीका है वो यूजुअली इस तरीके का नहीं है. And हाँ, here and there if these things are required, I'm going to cover it at the right time, right? So but at this point of time we will primarily focus upon the MSME theme as highlighted as a part of this industry's next leap chapter, right? So let us begin. And this is the expected question for today, that scaling up MSMEs is vital for global competition. Identify the challenges faced by MSME sector and the strategies to integrate them into global value chains. And you have to write this answer within 600 words, which carries 15 marks as a part of the comment box. And your answer is going to get evaluated by our team within 7 days, right? So I hope it is clear to you. So let us begin. Now, if we talk about the answer to this question, of course, firstly we will discuss the introduction part, then we are going to see the body, and later on we are going to see the conclusion also. And as you would be knowing that introduction should be around 10 to 12% of the total word limit. The same rule applies to the conclusion also. And rest of the word limit you should try to dedicate to the body part where you're going to write your body in the form of headings and the subheadings, right? So in a point-wise manner you have to write it in a well-structured format. So let us see the answer to this question and let us begin with the introduction. So MSME sector is a critical pillar of India's industrial landscape and it is essential for achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, right? 2047. This is something that we are targeting to convert India into a developed economy and to compete globally. The India must transition from a technology adopter to a global innovator. Now, what do you mean by that? We will talk about it later on when we are going to see the body parts. That what do I mean when I say that India must transition from technology adopter to global innovator phase, right? We will talk about it. And a vital component of this transition is the structural scaling of the MSMEs, right? And let me tell you that in the economic survey, they have discussed basically 5 pillars which are very importantly required to be focused upon if we talk about the competitiveness of India. And as a part of these 5 pillars, scaling up of MSMEs is also is an important pillar that is highlighted as a part of it, right? So this is something that is extremely important. So it enables them to move beyond survival and integrate them into global value chains where competitiveness is driven by strategic indispensability and high-tech manufacturing. So this is the introduction to this question. Now let us move on to the body part. Don't worry, we are going to talk about the explanation part also when we will see the body, right? So don't worry about explanation. We will talk about it in a detailed manner. Now let us see the body part 1, which is the different challenges that are faced by the MSME sector in India as highlighted in the economic survey. Now first of all, economic survey talks about the missing middle, right? Where it talks about the lack of scaling in context to the MSME sector. Now the point is that the survey says that while India has over 6.3 crore MSMEs, many remain small and are unable to achieve the economies of scale that is required to compete with the global peers, right? Because the point is that if the MSME is of small size, then what is going to happen? Due to this, it is going to limit its productivity improvements. Apart from that, because of the small size, it is going to face hurdles with respect to technological adoptions also, right? I will talk about this point later on. This is point number 3. We will talk about it, right? And apart from that, it will also create different type of constraints when it comes to integration as a part of global value chains, right? Because of the limited resources. And that is why this economic survey says that this lack of scaling is a big problem when we talk about MSMEs, even if the number is very high. 6.4 crore MSMEs are there, but many remain small and they are not able to achieve this economies of scale, which create these type of challenges that I have told you, right? So I hope this first point is clear. Now you can see over here, I have taken this screenshot directly from the economic survey, and you can see that it says that the part 2 Viksit Bharat 2047, it requires strategic resilience and continuous ascent with global value chains, sustained reforms across 5 pillars. These are the 5 pillars that I was talking about. The first pillar is ease of doing business. The second is research and development and innovation. The third is skilling. The fourth is infrastructure and logistics. And the fifth is which one? The fifth one is scaling up of MSMEs, right? So you can see as a part of these 5 pillars, right? It is very importantly highlighted, which is very importantly required as a part of our goal of Viksit Bharat, right? So this is something that you need to know. Now, apart from that, the second point as a part of these challenges, the second point is regarding the informality and the registration gaps. Now, the point is that a large segment of MSMEs, they work outside formal sector. Now, since they're working outside formal sector, what is going to happen because of the because of informality? When we talk about the MSME sector, first of all, it creates difficulty in achieving or in meeting the regulatory challenges as set by the government, right? Or as said by the regulatory bodies, right? It also faces challenges with respect to participation, or I would say limited participation is there, especially with respect to global supply chains, right? And apart from that, it also creates n number of challenges when it comes to accessing institutional support mechanism, very importantly financing, right? Because the thing is that if the MSME is not registered as a part of the formal economy, it will find it difficult to avail the loan from the banks, right? So this institutional support, it is going to get constrained as a part of it, right? So that is the challenge that is associated with the informality when we talk about the MSME sector. So the economic survey says that despite progress, to large section of MSME sector operates in the informal economy, which restricts their access to formal credit and government incentives also, because the government is not able to identify that which MSME should be provided what type of incentive. And if the government does not have the complete knowledge about the entire database, it also creates hurdles for the government too in order to formulate different type of policies, right? So that itself is a challenge. And this is some old data that I have chosen for you, because this was not mentioned in the recent economic survey, but पुराने economic survey में लिखा हुआ था. According to economic survey 2022 to 2023, a vast majority of micro enterprises still rely on informal sources of economy, which can include money lenders, family and friends for the working capital, and only about 15 to 20% of MSMEs have access to formal credit channels. I hope this is clear, right? Pretty much straightforward information. Now moving on to third point. The third point is regarding limited credit penetration. Now when I say limited credit penetration, we are strictly talking about the financial sources with respect to MSMEs. Now this is something that you can understand very clearly. The point is that if I talk about the financial sources that can be available to different companies, different firms, or different MSMEs, right? Now basically there are two types of companies that can be there. Firstly, there can be large firms. Secondly, there can be small firms. When I talk about large firms, basically they are able to get the financing either through the banks or through different type of alternative financing mechanisms also. For example, through corporate bonds, or it can also be through commercial papers, which are nothing but the market based instruments, right? But if I talk about the small firms do not have this straightforward or the simple access to these market based instruments. The point is that these small firms, as per the economic survey, these small firms are highly dependent upon the banks only with respect to the credit availability, right? And if bank credit growth moderates tomorrow, if it suffers tomorrow, what is going to happen? These small firms, their credit is also going to get suffer, right? They are also going to face greater constraints when it comes to the availability of credit. And this is the issue that has been highlighted in the economic survey, which is limited credit penetration, right? Which basically means that even if the firms have access to finance, access to credit, but the sources that are available with respect to that accessibility, they are not uniform in nature, right? They are not uniform in nature. There is a lot of unevenness with respect to these sources, and this is the issue that has been highlighted, right? So I hope this point is also clear to you, that why limited penetration is there with respect to different type of firms, right? So let us see the arguments as presented in the economic survey. So the economic survey highlights a shift in industrial financing from bank credit to market based sources. However, the shift that we are witnessing from bank credit to market-based instruments like corporate bonds or the commercial papers, this shift is uneven, right? Because the large firms that are there, they can access the diversified financing, which I have already explained you. But the small firms that are there, they are more dependent on traditional bank credit also. And thus, limited and uneven credit access continues to be a structural challenge, particularly for whom? Particularly for the smaller enterprises. I hope this argument is also clear to you. Now moving on to the next one. The next one is regarding technological and quality constraint. This is very easy to understand कि यार जो technological adoption बहुत ही slow है, बहुत ही poor है, right? And because of this, what happens? Because of this, they are not able to compete in the international markets, in the global market. Forget about international market. Even if we talk about the domestic market also, the small firms, the small companies, they're not able to compete with the big sharks because of the lack of technological adoption, right? Technological adoption. So that is itself an important issue, right? And the economic survey says that the technology adoption and adherence to quality standards are essential for global competitiveness. However, many MSMEs, they face constraints with respect to technological upgradation due to limited capital and also difficulty in complying with quality certification requirements. And because of this, what happens? It basically hinders their integration in the global value chains, right? Global supply chains as a part of it. So I hope this is clear to you. Now moving on to the next one. Now let us see the next point that is there, which is regarding market access and connectivity. When I say market access and connectivity, this point is basically related to the logistics facilitation with respect to MSMEs, right? Because the point is that if the logistics are inadequate, then what is going to happen? Just think about it. If the logistics are inadequate, what is going to happen? Don't you think that the cost is going to get increased? The answer is yes. Don't you think that the market access become limited? The answer is again yes, right? And if you talk about MSMEs, if you remember the first point, right? This lack of scale. The MSMEs in India, the majority of the MSMEs in India, they are basically small in scale. Small scale MSMEs are there and they have resource constraint also. Resource constraints also. And because of this, what basically happens? The cost is high, the market access is limited, the MSMEs are small scale and the resource constraints are there. Because of this, basically what happens? It basically confines them to the domestic market only because they are not able to compete in the international market, right? And that basically is a big challenge for them. So this market access and connectivity is equally, I would say, important as a part of it, a very important challenge. So MSMEs often struggle with high logistic cost and lack of direct access to international market, which keeps them confined to domestic or localized supply chains only. So that is the argument. Now let us move on to the next point, which is regarding, the next body part, which is body part 2, regarding strategies proposed to integrate MSMEs as a part of global value chains. Now the first point is regarding formalization and digital identity. Now over here, the economic survey talks about the relevance of Udyam portal. You must be knowing about the Udyam portal, right? As a part of the Udyam portal, MSMEs registration can be done, and these MSMEs, they are also provided, I would say, a permanent digital identity number through which is linked to their Aadhaar cards, right? So that is something that happens as a part of it, and the economic survey says that Udyam portal has played a very important role when we talk about the success in formalization. And as of July 2024, approximately 4.8 crore MSMEs have been registered on the portal, right? So this is nothing but this is a challenge of the first point. Not first point, but this second point, where we have seen that informality is a very important challenge when it comes to the MSMEs, right? Which creates a lot of gaps with respect to their productivity. And over here, the economic survey says that the Udyam portal, it has played a very important role. The second point is regarding enhancing productivity. enhancing productivity and quality. And over economic survey says that initiatives like ramp, which means raising and accelerating MSME performance. So this ramp is nothing. Let me tell you that this ramp is an initiative that basically focuses upon technological building, right? Technological upgradation of the MSMEs and also improve their market access, right? And let me also tell you that this ramp that is there, this ramp is supported by World Bank, right? And it is a central sector scheme. It is a central sector scheme and it is supported by World Bank, right? So you can see the relevance of this ramp. So it is saying that initiatives like ramp and zero defect zero effect, zero effect basically means to promote high quality manufacturing products which have zero impact, over the environment, right? So that is something is the main objective behind the zero effect initiative, which provide the certification to these MSMEs. So through this initiative like ramp and zero effect certification, they are proposed to improve manufacturing quality and environmental sustainability, which make MSMEs GVC ready, global value chain ready, right? So that is something, another argument that is proposed in order by economic survey in order to integrate these MSMEs into global value chains. Now the next one is regarding infrastructure and cluster development approach. So over here the economic survey says that we need to focus upon industrial cluster strategy, right? And through this basically what we can do, we can provide industrial friendly environment to these MSMEs, right? And they can focus upon scaling, they can focus upon the infrastructure, right? And apart from that, the government can also provide them time to time support whenever it is required, right? So that is something, and again another argument that is proposed as a part of it, another solution, or I would say that is proposed as a part of it. The fourth point is regarding leveraging digital public infrastructure. So over here it is saying that we need to integrate MSMEs into ONDC, open network for digital commerce, and government e-marketplace, which is GEM platform. Now let me tell you that ONDC is nothing. In a very simple manner, it allows the sellers to directly connect with the buyers across this platform, right? The point is that basically through this ONDC, with the help of this ONDC, these sellers, they don't have to be dependent upon the big apps that are there, for example Amazon, for example Flipkart, all such sort of things, right? The requirement of these kind of apps, the big apps, that is not required, right? What the seller can do with the help of this ONDC, it can directly sell its products to a buyer, right? For example, let us say if the seller is from Delhi and the buyer is in Chennai, right? So this MSME can now reach through ONDC through its customers, right, in a very seamless manner, and the cost is also reduced, and the dependency, very importantly, it also comes down, right? So through this it can reach different customers very easily. And when we talk about the GEM marketplace, through the GEM marketplace, the MSMEs can connect to government departments, the government departments that are there, and they can sell their products to these government departments, right? So that is the relevance of the GEM platform. You can also Google it, थोड़ा Google करके GEM की वेबसाइट भी आप देख सकते हो, आपको 2 मिनट में समझ आ जाएगा, ठीक है? तो ये इसका क्रक्स है लेकिन. So it is saying that integrating MSMEs into ONDC and GEM, it allows small players, which is the small MSMEs that are there, to bypass the traditional intermediaries and access a wider marketplace. So that is another point that is proposed as a part of it, as a part of the solution, right? So I hope it is clear to you. Now looking at the last thing, which is the conclusion. So MSME is not just an economic necessity but a strategic imperative. By addressing the missing middle through formalization, credit support, and technological upgradation, MSMEs can create a robust ecosystem where MSMEs can serve as an essential supplier within global value chains. So that is the idea regarding this MSME sector as highlighted in the economic survey. This is a question, the answer of which you have to write in the comment box, right? So I think एक या 2 क्लासेस और लगेंगी तो हमारा इकोनॉमिक सर्वे हो जाएगा, ठीक है, अच्छे से. एंड जो लोग कोर्स में एनरोल्ड है उनको, इफ यू डोंट नो, लेट मी टेल यू दैट वी हैव क्रिएटेड अ सेपरेट module for it, where you can find all the perspective 360-degree topics, and apart from that the other important topics that are there in the from the descriptive point of view, you can find those topics also as a part of the document. तो वहां से आप इसको एक्सेस कर सकते हो PDF, और जो बाकी जो स्टूडेंट्स है जो कोर्स में नहीं भी है वो टेलीग्राम चैनल से उनको इन क्लासेस की PDF मिल जाएगी, बाकी की नहीं बट इन क्लासेस की मिल जाएगी, राइट? सो दैट इज समथिंग दैट इज गोइंग टू बी हेल्पफुल फॉर यू. And these are the EduTap blogs on our website where you can read informative articles with respect to various competitive exams, so you can go through it, right? So that is it from my end. Let me see the chat box if any question is there. All right. So nothing is there in the chat box. So now I'm ending the session. And thank you so much and all the best. So एक दो classes और बची हैं. And ये जो नीचे वाले chapters हैं, we will cover these topics too, right?